You're listening to Mouth Mentality, where we talk to everyday people about everyday food. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mouth Mentality. I am Chef Heidi Marsh. Here today, we're talking to everyday people about everyday food, and our everyday person is the one and only Gigi Jerome. Welcome to the show, Gigi. How are you doing?
Thank you, Chef. I'm doing great. Fantabulous.
I'm so happy that you made the trek here to Midtown LA
Yeah, so far.
to be with us. So far, so good.
Thank you so much for having me and for
Yeah.
this opportunity to talk about a subject that touches all of us globally. Food is life. I am a coastal girl, a child of the sun and sea, and a citizen of the world. But yeah, I grew up here in LA since I was 9 years old. Before that, of course, there is a trajectory, which also perhaps is part of what opened up my eyes about being very, very, very in tune with who I am and culture and travel. And travel means food.
Did you travel a lot as you were young, or were you just pretty much stationary here in LA?
No, I traveled through countries before I came to LA, Latin countries, and once I came here, it was an immersion of a lot of other cultures. Of course, I'm from South America, so I associate myself with all of America. But here, when I arrived, it was more like the Thai food, the Asian foods, the Korean food, things that perhaps I wasn't too in tune with. But yeah, I was very, very blessed to be allowed to to explore and taste. And I traveled as a child quite a bit, and then as a young adult, and maybe even before my mid 20s, I had already lived in many other states and later on islands.
So
remote islands.
you're a woman of the world.
Yes,
we
a
can
citizen
say.
of the world.
So is there one childhood memory of food or a specific dish that you get nostalgic about, that you think about or try to recreate in your adulthood?
Yes, and it's very, very simple because we all talk about chicken soup for the soul.
Right.
And to this day, it is the dish that I still recall my grandmother making. I really don't know how many people she managed to feed with one pot of soup, because it was like the gift that kept on giving.
It always is.
And it actually is for me now too. I
Right.
get an organic chicken. I pick the veggies from one of my community gardens. I did this 2 weeks ago. And my friends, literally in one day, it's all of us, maybe 4 or 5, and then the next day, and then there's still some more for everyone else. So
Right.
everybody that is close to me knows that I am very nurturing with food, but they all know me for my chicken soup. And it all goes back to my grandma. And it doesn't mean that I make it exactly the same,
Sure.
but it reminds me of grandma's.
Did you do any cooking with your grandma or any members of your family when you were growing up?
Yes, very much so. I grew up very close with 2 maternal grandmothers and two paternal grandfathers. As a matter of fact, I still saw my great grandmother from my dad's side cooking. I believe she was 104 when she passed away.
Wow. So you spent some time in the kitchen. You got your hands
Yes,
in the food. They
yes.
put you to work with the food.
Definitely.
You learned maybe a little bit of recipe.
A bit of recipe, but also seeing the behind the scenes in preparation,
Right.
and also being allowed to see ingredients, especially with my mother. Her and I had a very good connection. At one point, I don't think I was 12 yet, but I was helping her select wines from the cellar. There was a lot of cooking with wine.
Yes.
A lot of the stews, a lot of the meats, just preparation. Like I
Sauces,
remember even, yeah, the
marinades.
sauces. And of course, they used to be cooking and having their little glass of wine on the
on the side, and then with the meal.
Yeah, and throwing the salt over.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the good luck. So if you drop salt on the ground, you got to put a little over your shoulder for the gods to bless you for good luck, right? It's just bad luck to spill the salt, right? I think that might be like an old Italian thing, actually. I don't know. I got that from my grandmother too. It's
Yes.
over the shoulder, you know, and I do that in big kitchens, and chefs see me throwing salt, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I spilled it, but you can't leave." Okay.
You gotta do your thing no matter where you go. I think it's about honoring the art.
I want to go back to, you were talking about being open up to Thai food, Korean food. So when did that start for you? Were you about a teenager living here in LA? Were you eating takeout, or were you doing any of that cooking, or what was that time in your life when you started exploring other ethnic foods?
I was a preteen. Thank God for one of my aunts who was very close to my mom. It was funny because she had just started dating a gentleman who is now her husband, and I was always with them. So she always had a kid to take with. And they started taking us to Ocha.
Okay.
Which I believe it still exists. So Thai food, it was quite eye-opening because though I had tried really exotic fruits and tropical fruits, but not necessarily the curries with coconut.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. It's
And
a
the
whole
Thai
other side of
basil.
the world.
Yeah.
Thai basil, curry coconut, red curry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other kind of shifts in your diet in your, say, preteens, teenage years?
It goes back with butchering. There's
Right.
nothing. There's nothing that is wasted.
Right.
My grandfather used to butcher a whole pig like there was no tomorrow.
Nose to tail, right?
Yes, nose
Using
to tail.
everything.
He used to do the blood sausage.
Sure. Yeah.
And that has never been something that I care for anymore. I love pate.
Right.
I love goose liver pate and the
Because you cook it with the wine first.
Yes,
and you let it with some heavy cream,
smooth,
so it's disguised as this magical meat.
Yes, it's not just.
It's not an organ anymore.
Exactly.
Right. I don't do organs. I got tricked into eating brains once. I was eating this chili that one of the chefs made for family meal, and I said, "Chef, what's the meat in this?" And he's like, "That's brain. That's hypothalamus." And I'm like, and then I kept eating it. I had so much saffron and chickpeas and other great things in there, but I don't really care for organs. I can tell when there's like the menudo soup, like the smell of organs, I can tell distinct that it's there, right? So you probably the same way.
Exactly what you're saying. I recall the smell of the lining of the stomach.
Right.
Or the slices of beef heart, which I used to worry about the cow. I was already in tune with animals. I am very in tune, and I used to think, well, or the liver and onions, which is global. However, no. Although I love liver in a different way.
Pate, right?
Pate, or I do like it also it's also a spread.
Like a terrine?
Yes.
Probably?
Okay. Yeah.
It's disguised as something else. It's no longer an organ.
Exactly.
I've never had a mango like I've had off a tree, being 5-6 years old, and plucking it from the tree and peeling it back and eating it. And nothing compares to the ripeness and the sweetness, and then watching my dad try to hit a coconut with a hammer without even draining the milk out, just ridiculous in the backyard, trying to break into this thing to show us. And he had no idea what he's doing. And to this day, I don't like coconut flakes or coconut flavored things. Nothing compares to the fresh.
Exactly. I noticed that a lot more tropical fruit is imported, but it does not taste the same.
It doesn't.
Because they ship it and it's, chilled, and by the time it's on the shelves, it's not.
Right. Well, it's all biodiversity, lacking, right? So it's all cultivated and grown to be a specific way, to be chemically treated so that it can reproduce the most you can get out of each hectare. It's not growing in the wild. It's not biodiverse. It's
Exactly. Do you know that here in the valley, And even in Venice or in Marina, there's a couple of mango trees that actually produce good mango.
Well, I think a lot of
And
people grow their own avocado, their own citrus, and the original Valencia orange citrus tree lives here in Los Angeles. It's
yes,
guarded, it's fenced out, it's protected because of there's a citrus disease that was taken out most of Florida, and they're trying to protect this. This is where all of the Valencia oranges came from. It's either
yes,
Valencia or Navel.
one
But
or the two.
one or the two.
Maybe
Those are
it's
like the two
Valencia
oranges we
because
have.
we
I
do
think it was
have a
Valencia.
place
Yeah.
called Valencia.
Yeah, it's Valencia. And I'm reading about these, it's called eating to extinction. So I'm reading about these plants that are like, where did our oranges come from? Where did our rice come from? And what was pushed out of the way to get what we have today to be a commodity rather than, nurturing the earth and letting it nurture us like the way that it used to be in history. It's a
Yes.
big topic, biodiverse eating.
Yes.
So
I've seen some places, like in New Hampshire, in Maine. There's a couple of chefs that have moved out of the cities
yep.
and have gone to grow their own farms and literally where the animals, so everything comes into play, where the hoofs of the animals is what aerates the soil. And I actually know a bit about that because my grandfather from my mother's side, which by the way, he was not only an incredible, charming gentleman.
Yeah.
He was my best friend, and I had him for a long time. He passed away 2021. But that man was magic because it wasn't only his charm of being such a gentleman, but it was his knowledge, and he was a medicine man and a shaman. But he was also a carpenter, a builder,
Wow.
and he was an agricultural man, and he used to grow corn. At the same time he used to grow corn, it was bean stalks, because the beans will curl on the corn stalks, and then the chickens or pigs used to run through those same areas.
Right.
So it is exactly what I've seen now, that it's how farming is to be done.
Right, regenerative farming
Yes.
rather than just, taking out the land and planting the same seed. The idea behind growing the beans around the corn was protecting the stalks. Then you let the animals free to munch on it and also to treat and fertilize the land. So you don't have to put in a bunch of chemicals, you don't have to put in pesticides and fertilizations and all of that.
Around those machines.
Yep, run the machines.
Oh, I saw a lot of that in my years in the Midwest, my dear.
Yeah.
I lived in Denver for a while after coming back from 5 years from the islands, and my ex-husband, Chuck, and my son will be like, no, today you're coming with us. We're going to explore another barbecue place, because they were ahead of me and I could never make it.
Right.
So they took me to this place, and I remember it to the T now. We go on the line. I heard the woman say, "How may I help you?" to a person ahead of us. And I was already a little weary. Because I thought, boy, they don't even give you time to look for what you want.
Right, they're hustling you through like cattle.
Yeah, so my ex-husband and my son didn't say anything. And as I went ahead, they ordered right away. She went up to me and said, "How may I help you? How may I help you?"
Wow.
And I looked at them and they started laughing. I said, "I'm not ready yet."
Right.
To the woman, and she kept saying, "How may I help you?" Well, that's their thing. That's their stick.
They're pushing you through.
No,
how may I help
it's
you?
for fun.
Okay.
It's like. Do you remember that restaurant where the waiters are rude?
No, Dick's Last Resort.
Yes,
Down in San Antonio was the first one, and I went down there.
So this is how may I help you? It's called Gates.
Okay.
Barbecue.
Gates Barbecue.
Gates
in
Barbecue
Kansas City,
on
Missouri.
Main in Kansas City, Missouri. How may I help you?
Oh,
But what
man.
happened is I got the most "How may I help you?" and louder because my ex-husband and my son had told the lady to tell me more than anyone else.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
They pulled a trick on you then.
Exactly. I did not become too much of a fan of the barbecue.
Right.
I do love the burnt ends.
The burnt ends.
That's it.
That makes sense.
Yes.
From like a Trusco, like if you're looking at like comparing barbecue styles and pieces and parts, that would make sense to me that you would like the burnt ends.
Yes. It
Yeah.
was just, I guess it was
I like the pork
not
ribs.
so.
It's the baby backs.
Yes.
That was a
those are
treat
delicious.
when I was growing up, and I still make it a treat
Yes.
when I cook it for folks and cook it at home and
I love
cook it
that.
for the team.
I think a pork rib's still really good.
Yes. You wouldn't believe it. Here's this woman. She's on a gondola in the Venice Beach Canals, which can't be very deep. I, barely even knew that they existed. And I was like, there's canals in Venice, and they're a historical thing, and they were saved. There's only so many of them. They used to be vast. And we're walking along, and there's this woman on a gondola, and my wife said, we got to talk to her. I felt like she had to talk to us.
Yes, I did. I said buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. So the Venice Canals are a historical gift to us. They are Venice Canals. He got inspired in the 1900s in Venice, Italy. So he decided that even though our coast was marshland,
right,
he wanted to recreate the Venezia of America, and he certainly did.
Yes,
because it became the first Southern California coastal entertainment. There was a speedway, there was a small airstrip. I mean, you name it. There were. The pier used to be vast, where now the iconic Venice sign sits. So the canals used to be fed from the pier into the lagoon, and then on to everywhere we drive in Venice now.
Yeah.
Used to be water.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He also brought 20 to 30, they say 20 to 30 gondoliers from Italy with authentic gondolas. But obviously there were things that happened and things went awry because the Venice pier burned. And sadly, Albuquerque had passed away. So there were many things where literally less than 2 decades, it was already in disarray. It continued on, but if you go there now, you still see a lot of buildings that are the original buildings. So my thing is that I wanted to honor Albuquerque's Venezia of America, and being one of the only second women in the world to own a gondola, Venetian authentic gondola, and the only one here in the U.S., which I acquired in 2020. She's 30 years old. I put her through restoration to honor her of a year, and then it took me a year and a half to accomplish putting her in the Venice Canals, but I did.
You probably didn't do a lot of cooking.
You'll be surprised.
Did you find time to do home cooked meals with your son?
Yes, I mean, I at times think about how did I do all this, but I've always had this lifestyle.
Right.
Of travel and
a busy lifestyle. I did a lot of meal prepping to find conveniences, especially during the pandemic. It was like I was cooking at a convention center for Boys and Girls Club and homeless shelter, and it's not necessarily the meal plan that I was making for myself and for my wife. So like I had to do meal preps and bring in my own lunch so I could stick to a particular diet.
Exactly.
So I wasn't eating chicken nuggets and French fries and meatloaf and lasagna and these different things that I was preparing as a part of my civic chefing duty, right? And so when you're working on a large project, and I was also working on R&D for the culinary side of the convention center. So I'm working on these elaborate menus and like making chicken nuggies, and so of course I had to have my clean program food right along with me because I was hungry.
That's right.
So it was like trying to find balance and try to make the time. And then as we opened up and events got busy and crazy, I found myself munching on concession pizza,
Yeah.
pretzels, and whatever I could,
Whatever
munch
you
on,
could find.
because then you needed the conveniences.
But then you feel it quickly.
You feel it quickly. My sous chef would like order us and bring us sandwiches and have like these magical tacos delivered, and he was like a magician when it came to like surprise food. So thank goodness for him.
Yeah.
And so you were probably living that same kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. So we've always with the boys. I was very, very fortunate. My ex-husband was a good cook.
Oh, good.
And so he would manage. He will manage all of breakfast and leave things cooking in a crock pot, and he used to call it a stoop instead of a stew.
A stoop.
A stoop. A beef, a soup and a stew.
Right.
A stoop.
Right.
Although after we were not together anymore, 13 years, I literally could smell it and it wasn't even there anymore.
That's wild.
I could smell it and wake up upset because this man used to cook at 3, 4 in the morning when I'm literally just getting home at 1 in the morning. And
right.
He's got to go to his studio first thing in the morning. But it was all out of love. He wanted to make sure that there was a meal for when Christian, my son, came home from school, and then later on for him. But they're carnivores. These boys can eat steak and eggs. They can eat steak and everything all around. So I always found ways. What I did, my husband used to do the breakfast and things, and I used to do more of the pasta because I do my marinadas like all day. And I have to have the pasta handmade, or even if it's not handmade, like I do it now for Mom's husband, it still has to be good quality.
Good quality pasta, that's right.
So yeah, they love those things that I made, but I've always managed to keep a balance. I love cooking. I get excited by thinking about a meal. I have to visually get enticed to eat. I eat with my eyes.
I love that. That's something
I
always say we eat with our eyes.
Yes.
It has to look good. It has to look beautiful, colorful, appealing. Otherwise you're not going to put it in your mouth. If it looks like crap, you're not going to want to eat it, first of all. That's what I always say.
No, I love pretty things.
Yeah.
I love flavorful things. I do not care, of course. I love communal meals.
Okay.
Family.
Familia, the family style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. So I've always been a nosher, a bit of noshing. Of course, good cheeses, prosciuttos, you name it. But I'm also to where I am so drawn to multi-course meals, where you think you're done and then something else comes.
Something else. Do you like those surprise chef tastings where you don't really know what you're going to get, and like there might be like up to 13 of them, and it starts really small, it gets a little bit bigger, a little bit progressive,
very
like you
much
said.
So.
And you don't know what to expect. You might tell them up front, like, I don't eat organs, I don't eat liver, otherwise I'm good, bring me all the cheese, right? And so you're just surprised. Like, I love that stuff.
I love that stuff. And
as a chef, like, I look at menus and I'm like, have this, make that, do this, don't like that. I don't really want a choice sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
That's why I love going to Genoa across the street, and I'll take they'll take the trust me, and just I trust you to
exactly.
I'm grateful I'm not allergic to anything, because I can go in just blindfolded and be like, chef, feed me. Because I think, and you're an entertainer, you're in hospitality, you do the gondola packages, you also do yacht.
Yes, so
Boundless 1440, right?
Correct. Yes, right. Boundless 1440 was born in 2020. It is a luxury hospitality in yachting and private air. We're introducing now some fun additional watercraft that are called jet cars.
That's right. You were telling me about
Jet
the
cars
jet cars
on
were
water,
coming.
sports cars on waters. We have them
Yeah.
here already in Newport, and we're gonna be introducing them in Marina and also in Long Beach. We are the distributor out of the manufacturer out of Turkey. So we do not only sell the jet cars, but we can also issue dealership licenses.
That's
So
wild.
watch out. They're only
That's
in
next.
Dubai for a bit now, and there's a few in Miami. But a partner and I are the first ones here in the US since May.
How far out in the ocean do you go?
Well, I mean, here we tend to go to Catalina or Channel Islands. You gotta
Okay.
have a destination because
Right.
you gotta have an itinerary.
Okay.
So here, that's also what is limiting here in the in Southern California. But we do have the great marinas to go to.
I've never been on like a yacht off the coast here. I've been on a sport fishing boat where we were 160 miles off.
Yes, because
And
you're supposed to be
and I was
fishing
cooking,
that far out.
And I was throwing up and I was cooking and I did not eat. I said, stop putting things in your mouth, but you can cook for everybody. You know, I'm cooking 5-star meals.
Yes.
Weaving back and forth with what felt like the worst hangover of my life, not drinking a thing.
Oh my, I'm so sorry that's your experience.
Well, I was a Midwest baby, you know, all about the land out on the ocean. But then, you know.
Was this a fishing boat?
The charter fishing.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And it was great. I mean, I learned a lot of things. I caught the biggest fish I ever caught in my life. I cooked some great meals. People loved it. I took great pictures. I saw dolphins the first morning I was out there.
Beautiful.
But I didn't have sea legs. And so I'm fascinated when people say, I love it. I'm a boater. I love being on the water. And I'm like, it's a beautiful place.
Yes.
But I was so sick. I could not figure out a way to not be sick. I tried snake oils and Dramamine and beads and.
Now we gotta get you back out and be one.
I was listening to the tethered soul, trying to sleep as my butt was bouncing in my bunk, like.
So for us, it's a bit different. So on a regular day, I'll go out and cruise out on the small 44-footer, which, yeah, if you take it full throttle, you're gonna feel the waves, but they're sports boats.
Right.
So there's a big difference.
There is, yeah.
The yachts are some of the most luxurious yachts that exist here in Marina. And some in Newport. The 86, it's an 86-foot Monte Carlo, Italian, May 2019. So now it is where I have a one-of-a-kind service.
It is.
In the West Coast with the top yachts, all-inclusive experiences, adventures, from arrival to departure. And on top, I have a cherry on top, which is Gandola La Romanza de Los Angeles.
Right.
And even
that
though
is unique.
She's smaller.
Right.
Yeah, it means the romance of angels. Mm-hmm. Gondolas are never named, but I felt that she deserved them.
She did deserve that name.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even though she's small, she is the crown jewel. And even though she's not with her big sisters in the marina now, she's in the Venice Canals, and she does offer culinary. She offers really, really good noshing, pretty things.
Noshing. So would you say mostly now your diet is noshing?
Yes, it is.
I mean, every time I see your Instagram stories of Gigi Jerome official, right?
Yes.
All right. So if you follow Gigi Jerome official on Instagram and you see her stories, she's always on the go. She's always got some wine. And there's some noshing going on.
There's noshing going on.
There's noshing going on.
Yes, if you're gonna come and hang out, there's always gonna be noshing.
Right.
Yes. But it is to where it is my natural way of eating. Mm-hmm. It comes from enjoying all those little beautiful bites of food. And of course, not every day we're eating foie gras. Not every day am I eating, the uni mousse or things
The
like
terrine
that,
and
the
the-
terrine, and
Yeah.
you name it. However, I do, even when I am preparing, no matter how simple it may be,
Right.
it's about putting the thought into it and making it look beautiful so that it can open up the senses.
Right. And you eat with your eyes, so
You
it
eat
has
with
to
your
look
eyes,
beautiful.
yes. And one of my most incredible experiences, I know that we all, at one point or another, and it touches on gifting yourself the gift of travel and also the gift of food. I experienced in Napa, there is a Verge du Soleil, multi-course, 12 courses. I remember each bite, each color, each, like I could literally sketch it out
Wow.
because
Some
it
great
was
memory.
that memorable.
Every little detail.
Absolutely. Those are the things to remember.
I think there's a lot to be said today about the complete package and service in our industry now more than ever. It's really tough to find that. We go out. You go out. I know I eat. I refrain from going out a lot of the times because of the disappointment. Because
Yes.
I'm continuously, whether it's the food, the service, cleanliness, the list. I usually find myself criticizing.
Me too.
And sometimes I just need to sit back and relax. And I know there's places I've gone where the food is just freaking incredible and memorable, and the company that I'm with, but the service was like lackluster or whatnot.
Yeah, no, I noticed that more in a lot
They're
of things.
feeling rushed out of the door, and
Yes.
so like there's a lot to be said when you can find a place that has that complete package that makes that really puts that memory into your head. That's a positive memory
Exactly.
in today's hospitality world. I mean, there's not a lot of career servers anymore. There's not a lot of career hospitality people. They've been burnt out, they've moved on, they are doing other things, or, they're not coming from a generation that we come from.
They don't come from
Where
service.
it's a gift, where you may have grown up cooking with your family or not, but you found this passion for love and for service and hospitality. Like you said, you're nurturing others, and it's the greatest gift you can give people that you don't find that everywhere anymore.
Exactly.
So we're like a diamond in the rough, Gigi.
We are, and
Yeah.
I love it because we have to find a way to extend ourselves beyond ourselves.
Right.
One of the things that I experience in service, you can train, but you cannot teach them to care. So if they already off the bat don't care, they do not belong in service.
They will not learn.
There are other
Yeah.
things. However, if you think about it, every career requires you to be of service.
Right, and to have some level of caring
Exactly.
about something. So
That is the difference between. You don't even need to go far to
Right.
receive good service because they take it seriously. They take pride in
Right.
it. They take pride in that they are
It is pride.
restaurateurs,
yeah,
Thai restaurants. As you know,
yeah,
you don't go to culinary school to learn Thai food. It's literally generational.
it's passed down. The passion is passed
yes.
down, and the respect, and like you said, the pride.
Yes.
And
Latin
what we're doing.
people, Latin restaurants.
Yeah.
I literally see the difference, and a lot of the restaurants that are more the places, but these days with social media, everything is Instagrammable and all that stuff. Which
Right.
no, it's not reality. But
It's you can make anything look Instagrammable.
yes,
I feel like-
cook at home, go pick the veggies, make a meal at home.
Right.
That is Instagrammable. That is sharing a story that perhaps somebody can feel enticed or can feel empowered or can feel like, wait a minute, I can do this.
Right. So what's your go-to, like, you said you notch a lot. What's your go-to, like, meal that you would make for yourself? You said a little bit about pasta. I mean, I cooked macaroni and cheese with bacon on top last night and a arugula salad with avocado. Like, that was something I made myself, for myself. My wife was at work. And I'm like, this just sounds.
This is it.
It's freaking like it's comfort food, but then I put the greens and the avocados. I'm like, I need
Right.
healthy on the side.
Oh, I've seen your setup.
I've seen some of my good stuff.
Yes,
There's,
I
like,
want
this
to
for
eat all
me.
of it.
You can be like real and raw. Like, what is like, you
Yes.
know, what is the latest and greatest for you that you make for yourself?
So for me is I love breakfast food any time of day.
That's right.
Yes, I can eat it any time of day, but breakfast for me doesn't necessarily mean eggs and bacon and
Right.
eggs and steak and all that. It literally means a pretty frittata. It's
Yes.
gotta look pretty. Or a maybe a cuddled egg
Sure.
on top of a little potato puree. It's one of my favorite
Oh, that
things.
sounds fantastic.
An egg, I love, love, love an egg. Just about in every way you can make it. But yeah, it's breakfast food. I love a good French toast. So literally, it's what I'm thinking about. I get enticed, and then my mouth responds.
Mm-hmm.
And then once all of that is, but it's the fact that we're creating. It's like art. It's like
It's art. Yeah.
cooking. It's
Yeah, my
how
stuff
do we
still
go
looked
from
great.
raw to that to that to that?
Yeah, I went from like, what do I have that could go on this and I'm hungry for? And
Yes.
it's, you know, even though I had like the strangest adult mac and cheese pretty much going on,
Yes.
I had my healthy, I had my comfort, and it still looked beautiful.
I love a shakshuka.
Shakshuka.
That's
yeah.
my favorite dish.
That's a fantastic
Yes.
dish.
But I enjoy it when I make it.
Me too, because I make sure I have a
Yes.
lot of bread.
Yes.
They never give you enough bread when you eat it out. It's
Good
like,
breads.
they
Yes.
serve it as an appetizer in
Exactly.
a lot of Miami restaurants
Yes.
and stuff. Like, it's not an appetizer; it's a meal.
It's a meal.
Give me all the bread.
Yes.
Because I love bread. It was the first recorded history of a recipe, and it's inscribed on the side of a cave, actually. So if you read the book, the first 100 recipes, it is the very first recipe. And they kind of translate it into English, and there's no time, temperature, or whatnot. It's just two figures, and they're muddling the flour, milling it out, and they're adding water, and there's an oven, right? Some sort of hearth.
Yes.
And that was the first recorded history of a recipe ever.
Amazing.
Isn't that fantastic?
I would love to see that book sometime.
Yeah, I got it at the West Hollywood Library, actually.
Perfect.
I pick out the most weirdest books.
I'm a reader too. I still like paper.
When you were talking about your former partner and your son and men and steak and eggs, I have a book that's called 200 Recipes for Men to Cook, and my grandfather's signature is on the front page, but you can tell by the spine that it never been touched.
Oh, I see.
And I still have it. So
I love it.
well, Gigi, thank you so much for being on the show today. You guys have got to check out Gigi Jerome Official and Boundless 1440. And if you want the whole hospitality picture here in Southern California, you've got to hit her up. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It is such a pleasure.
Yes, I love the story and I love the places that we go here on Mouth Mentality with everyday food and everyday people.
Thank you for listening to Mouth Mentality. Catch us when we dish out the next story.